Meh, just leave it in the hands of the Stranger Thing kids. I mean, the Ghostbusters. Yeah, I know it's an obvious joke, but I am really looking forward to that film. Spoilers in the cold opening, so skip, and we open with Aiko talking about her dad, and oh geez. Yeah, enjoy seeing that in your nightmares tonight, everyone. I think Okada could help you with that. Yeah, I know the wrestling episode's next time, but I just want to be ready for it. Anyway, believe it or not, that face did serve a purpose as a part of the bigger theme of this episode, which was fathers. In Aiko's case, we pretty much know by this point that she does have her old man under her thumb, and yet overall they still had a really healthy relationship. Not so much the case with this girl named Shiori, which we got to see through some really good visual storytelling. I especially love this little touch of her keeping her back towards her father until he leaves, and then proceeds to totally sugarcoat things with the Ojamajo. Good stuff, topped with a good gag. Karma could not come any sooner. But yeah, for a little context, Shiori had been missing school due to an illness, and no obvious current day references here, please. Though it didn't really affect her grades, as her father was a cram school teacher who managed to homeschool her a little. She was understandably a little against this, like come on dude, let the kid at least enjoy her sick day a little. Not helping her was Reika when she accused her of cheating off of her, and then tried to actively gaslight her. Yeah, I think the more proper term for that is coddling. But yeah, you could probably tell that the theme of this episode was fatherly love, with each of the characters recollecting how their dads expressed such. On a side note, I'm just now noticing that Doremi's younger design here kind of looks like what she's gonna look like in future seasons. Hindsight's a funny thing. Anyway, Reika still tried to brag about her dad being the greatest, but was taken down a few pegs by her classmates and then dealt a final blow by Ompu.
Well, you're dead now, so shut up!
I'll get more into this later, but I will say now that I really like the setup in which we got to see a bunch of variations on parenting, starting with our main heroines talking about their mostly healthy relationships with their fathers versus the two extremes of Reika and Shiori. This would of course result in the latter two questioning what exactly was parental love in the end. Also, what's going on with Ryota and Nobuko here? Are they like exchanging Godzilla fanfics? So yeah, I was thinking like Ghidorah's three heads could have like different personalities, and one of them could be like really goofy, and his name would be Kevin, and he would become so popular that we could bring him back for the sequel. Oh come on, who would ever want to watch a movie like that? Anyway, the two daughters with problematic dads ended up envying the other because they were essentially dealing with opposite issues. Though in Reika's case, it led to some much more expensive issues. Little did she know, that actually belonged to the Oran Host Club. But yeah, this was an obvious cry for attention when she realized that her dad took an overly hands-off approach when it came to raising his daughter, which this pencil neck only continued to do after she outright admitted that she broke the vase on purpose. Frustrated, Reika ran away from home and ended up running into Shiori, who apparently had done the same thing. She was planning to go see her grandmother, who lived nearby in Kamakura, which does kind of bring up questions of where exactly their town of Misora is located. I mean, it's said to be a fictional location, but it also seems to be based on the city of Otsu in the Kansai region, and Kamakura is in the Kanto region, and in fact the Mahodo seems to be based on a real-life location there, and yeah, I don't know, it's probably another Springfield situation. Anyway, the two decided to go to Shelbyville, I mean Kamakura, together. Yeah, just conveniently overlooked the fact that you called her a cheater earlier. Learning about the two going missing, the Ojamajo's entire class looked for them, and most of them didn't talk, they just used the power of montages here. I mean, I'm not complaining or anything, especially if it means we don't have to hear the shrill tones of you-know-who. In the middle of all of this, Mr. Tamaki was finally called out on his lack of disciplining his daughter. He did try to explain his reasoning for not doing so with two incidents. The first in which he accidentally let some hot coffee spill on a still toddler Reika, and the second in which he did legit scold and slap her after she almost fell off their balcony. And I will say, it's a Pretty good touch having Reika being the only character in color during these flashbacks, as if to symbolize her as Mr. Tamaki's center of attention. And yet, as good as his intentions were, it was clear that his execution needed work, especially now. I mean, I understand wanting to make it up with her and everything, but one, Reika clearly doesn't remember either of those incidents, and two, you're just kind of making excuses at this point for your objectively poor parenting. While it will also vary on a case-by-case basis, there's no denying that children need both love and discipline. Kids who don't learn about boundaries are not only going to become out-of-control and entitled adults, but they will also likely develop at least some subconscious parental issues due to feelings of neglect. In short, stop being such a damn wimp and start raising your damn kid, dude. Eventually, Shiori's dad figured out where the girls had gone. Problem was that her grandmother had left on vacation, locking up her house on the way out. So the adults went to try and find them, and hey Seki, you kind of left your bike there, not gonna lock it up or anything? Well, anyway, the Ojamajo of course had their own means of transportation, and using the magical stage, they also attained a video game compass. You know, the kind that magically points in the direction that you should go. If only Google Maps were that reliable. But yeah, it ended up pointing them to Reika's family's villa. The two had gone there to get some rest for the night, but like any extra housing that's left unintended, the utilities had already been cut off to save on money. It was especially bad for Shiori, as she was still recovering from her previous ailments, and they were just entering into the winter months. Thus Reika, in a good character moment, tried to help her, right after she had played the blame game with her, but whatever, at least her priorities are straight. The Ojamajo also wanted to help, but Hazuki, having experienced it herself, knew that they couldn't use healing magic, so instead, they snuck around as roaches, as well as around the electric and water companies. The most OP magic in the show is the ability to evade your utility bills. Reika didn't really take notice of everything just kind of turning on by itself, maybe she just thought they were fortunate malfunctions, but she did take notice when Doremi almost burnt the whole place down. Now I guess she was one of those kids who never did get over that scary furnace from Home Alone, same. Just as well anyway, as the adults had arrived, and I like that what could have been overly dramatic moment with them finding the kids and all that, they instead did the realistic thing and just took Shiori straight to the hospital, so good job there. They did get dramatic afterwards because gotta have those emotional resolutions. And unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of resolution to Shiori's subplot, though we'll discuss that more during the closing thoughts. For now, Reika wrapped things up with her dad, with a little more help from the Ojamajo. The father and daughter finally confronted their issues, with the former finally growing a spine, and the latter realizing that he did care even if he really did suck at showing it. And to finalize their bonding, Doremi provided them with fireworks to remind them of the first slap. It was a little convenient that she predicted that they were going to repeat that, and that she even managed to time it up so perfectly. Also, they're not going to question where those fireworks above the water were coming from. Nah, whatever, it's a sweet ending, so I'll let it pass. This was a really good one that I can safely say was for all ages, in that both kids and their parents really should watch this one. For the kids, it provides a good perspective on how parenting can vary, and unless they are legit bad people, many parents do legit love and respect their offspring. For the boomers, it's a good reminder that sometimes tough love is a thing, and while you certainly shouldn't go overboard, you also shouldn't be a wimp. In that sense, I do wish that Shiori's half of this episode could have gotten a little more focus, but hey, at least the bratty little rich girl got some great development. This episode was written by head writer Midori Kuriyama, and geez, can you feel the dad energy raining off this one? Again, I really like how the Ojamajo brought in some healthy, middle-of-the-road parenting to contrast with the two extremes of an over- and under-engaged parent. Bringing in the idea that her father wasn't giving her enough attention really helped to flesh out Reika's character and give more context behind her previous transgressions. She was subconsciously seeking attention that she wasn't getting from her parents, who were just kind of coddling her. After all, if a child is not wronged in, they are going to develop bad habits and tendencies. Now, of course, this doesn't necessarily excuse her previous antagonism. In fact, she'll still make some very significant mistakes later, but at least we now have context. That said, while I do really appreciate them calling out the coddlers, I do kind of wish we got a little more with the overly strict parenting. While I'm not saying his parenting was anywhere near as bad as Reika's dad, Shiori's old man was kind of pushing her away by not letting her relax at least a little when she was sick. I don't know, I just kind of wish they could have given us a more in-depth discussion about how parenting should try to take the middle ground when it comes to loving and being strict, but whatever. I guess they wanted to put a little more focus on Reika's conflict, which was well told with some excellent direction from Akinori Yabe and animation from our old friend Toshie Kawamura. Yeah, it's always fun when we get to see that pretty-cute character designer get involved. So, overall, this was a great, well-made episode for the resident Ojo of the series. And thankfully, this little queen bee with daddy issues in a magical girl show is going to get some further development, unlike some others. Currently, we're working on the first part of the Symphogear XV review, which should be out by Thanksgiving or so. It is always fun checking out this over-the-top magical girl series, where they both encourage more and less DACA sometimes. I know I'm gonna have a lot of fun talking about some of the production behind this one. So look forward to it. And until then though, farewell for now my friends, and fireworks in the middle of the day. And I really can't, that's sort of a thing in Hawaii. Yeah, we're kind of random.